Right, welcome back. It's been a while since I've done anything on vehicles, well, any videos on anything on vehicles, to be fair. Some of the time it's just not appropriate, or I don't really get a chance, or I'll start it and something just gets complicated and I don't get to finish it, to be honest. So I don't post up unfinished videos. Anyway, today is another Fiat 500, popular one. It's a 2015 Fiat 500, and I'm doing the front brake pads and discs. Okay, now I've got APEC discs and pads. I don't even know what the quality of them's like, but you know what, it's only a cheap car. It's my own little run around, and you never guess what I paid. I paid $19.99 delivered from eBay. Okay, so I was pretty happy with that, actually. We'll see. As long as the discs run true, I don't see there's going to be any problems. The MOT's due on the car. Current discs on it are a little bit worn, so 20 quid for a new set for the MOT. I'm pretty easy about that. The car, I never go far in the car, sort of 20 miles is probably the maximum I normally go. So, right, I'm going to start. This is going to be very simplistic video. I'm going to run you by all the tools that you need. Probably do that at the end, actually, because as I use different tools, I'll just line them all up and then go through them with you. Now I do use a big trolley jack that's down there, but you don't necessarily need that. You know, you can use the jack with the car, but never get under there without propping the car up. So you will need at least one axle stand. You can do one side at a time. So get the car jacked up, get it on the axle stand, but don't forget, before you do any of that, just to crack the wheel nuts a little bit loose. Otherwise, once the car's in the air, you're going to have problems doing that. So let's crack on and get going on it. Right, so as mentioned, I'm going to crack those wheel nuts open, or loose, should I say. So I use a nice big breaker bar with the 17mm impact socket on there. So we're just going to get that on the front wheel. Just going to pop them loose a tiny little bit. I did say I was going to keep this basic for you. Now this is going to be really straightforward. I'm only going to do one wheel for the video. Obviously, you don't need to do both sides; they're both the same. And I actually think this is, anybody with an ounce of common sense and mechanical ability can do this job. Let's go. Right, so for jack placement here, okay, just that bit. You don't want to be on here because you're going to bend the sill. Okay, looks like somebody already might have done actually on this one. So get your jack, if you're using a trolley jack or the jack that comes with a car, whatever, get it under this jacking point here. You can put them under the front wishbone there, but and that will lift it a lot quicker actually. But what I'm going to do is jack it up from here and then put an axle stand somewhere under there for safety. Right, there we go. So that's up in the air, as you can see. I do like to jack them up quite high. That's giving me quite a bit of ground clearance there. But as long as that wheel is spinning, that's all you need, to be honest. But that's going to give me a bit more room to fit the axle stand. Yeah, that's quite funny. You don't often get that. So where I've jacked the front of the car up, the actual rear of the car's come up as well. So that's good old weight distribution for you. Anyway, look, so I've now fitted the axle stand. Okay, so what I've done is I've fitted the axle stand under there. The car is on that. That's solid. But I've also got weight on the jack, so it's just extra safety. So the jack is still in place, but I lowered it onto the axle stand very slowly so they've both got the weight of the vehicle. And that's pretty much as safe as it's going to be. Right, let's take the wheel off and see what we're up against. Here we go. So I've just got this. It's a really basic impact driver. It's not very good for these, but the wheel is off. Right, so there we go, wheels off, and there it is. Now, as you can see, actually I don't know how well this is going to show up on the camera. There is quite a substantial lip there, and because it's only a solid disc, very thin solid disc, I'm just going to replace it. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with the pads, to be honest with you, but as I say, for the MOT, I think, you know, just in case he fails it on that, I'll just think to myself, I might as well, for the 20 quid it costs, let's just get the discs on. So obviously we're going to take this disc off, and that's pretty straightforward. We're going to take these two, we're going to remove these two, okay, but first of all we've got to undo this bolt here and the corresponding one underneath. Is there one underneath? No, it looks like it might just be one. So we're going to take that bolt out there, that pin out there. That'll give us access to get the caliper off. Then we've got to take the caliper bracket off out of the way, and that's just going to be, there's a couple of 17s holding that on. And right, let me get this off first, and then we'll crack on. Right, so as you can see, this is the bolt I've got to take out. That's an Allen key fitting. I think it's 8mm. Let me go and get the 8mm, see if it fits. Right, so there we go, I managed to get a 8mm Allen key 3/8 socket onto that, and loosen that up. Hopefully that's going to come out far enough. This brake pipe's kind of quite a tight fit. I might have to just take that out of here and move it around a bit. Let's see how much hassle we have getting this out. I need 2 hands for this. So this bolt did come out of a little bit of persuasion. There's quite a bit of thread lock on there from whoever did the brakes last time. That's fine. I mean, it's not a bad idea to put that on there, but I probably won't be putting it back. It was a little bit of hassle. Just lever a screwdriver in here on the thread to push it back enough. It doesn't need to go right out to clear that, and that's moving around now. But I've got to take that bottom pivot pin out to move the caliper completely out of the way, because I wonder if you can just, I think might be able to just pivot that out of the way in order to do the if you're just doing the pads. I'm not actually sure, I'll investigate that, but I'm going to take that pin completely out anyway, and then I can get to this carrier bracket, which I'll take off, and then I can get to the actual disc, get the disc off. Right, so there's the lower pin that was in there, underneath there. Just had to pull that little metal clip out of the way, and then just tapped it, and it popped out. Just held onto it with the pliers actually, and then tapped the pliers, and that pulled it out. So in theory, this caliper now, just pull off out of the way. There we go. Now I'm going to do something wrong there and hang that caliper on the brake pipe. Actually, it's hanging on the sensor wires, the brake sensor wires there. So it's out of my way. That's fine. It's not put any strain on. It's not put any strain on the actual brake hose. if you like, so I'm not too worried about that. Now I've just got to get to these two. There's a pair of 17s on the back of this. Let me see if I can show you those. That is that one there, that one there, and that one there. So I'm going to take those off. Then this caliper bracket is going to come off. Right, so they will be tight. I've put a breaker bar on it, give it a bit of a thump, and they'll come loose. Once they're a little bit loose, you can get a little ratchet on there. There's a 1/2 inch drive for this, to be honest. There's plenty of room as well, so you haven't got to worry too much about that. Right, there we go, there's the caliper bracket off. So what I will tell you is, it's a great idea, clean it up, wire brush it and everything before you put it back together. See the little bits of surface rust on there. There's a good possibility that cause a brake squeal. And you use some copperies putting it all back together as well. I'll show you that. But yeah, that came off pretty easy actually. Not too much to worry about there. So just got to take these two bolts out here and remove the disc. Now these are, on a lot of cars, these are just a little like a little Phillips screw, but these are like this. They use these to locate the actual rims onto the hub, because they are male wheel nuts, not female wheel nuts. So they're female here. They haven't got studs, so they use those as studs to locate the wheel in the correct place. Okay, so those two come out pretty easy. 12mm. What I did was just held one with an adjustable, put a 12 on the other, cracked it open, and then the other one was actually it just came off anyway, so it wasn't too bad. And then normally, if that's a little bit stuck on there, just give it a bit of a tap, and that'll get your disc off. All right, and there we go. And yeah, as you can see, there's quite a bit of a lip there. So yeah, there's plenty of wear on them, left on them, but you know what the heck. Don't look anything out of the ordinary under here. It all looks okay. Always worth checking the drop links. That's this piece here. It's cheap enough to replace. That causes, if this is called a drop link, goes from the suspension strut to the roll bar there, anti-roll bar, and that's basically, if you've got a knock, that's the first place to look. Sort of bit of wear in that, but that's pretty solid, that's pretty cool. So basically just going to clean this up now, wire brush it all, and then get the new disc out. Don't forget to degrease the new disc, so always get this stuff, get a can of this stuff. It's worth its weight. I buy it in bulk, only pay a couple of quid a can, but you know, 3 or 4 quid or whatever you're going to pay for it, it's worth having a can there anyway, just to degrease the new discs with, to be honest with you. So yeah, there you have it. Let's start getting this back together. So one of the other things you're going to need for reassembly is this stuff, copper grease, right? Copper ease, whatever you want to call it. Here's a tin of the spray. I use a little bit of both, so I've just sprayed a little bit around here before I put the disc back on. That's going to stop the next guy, well, the next time it's done, from having to actually give it a whack to get it off. And you also, the back of your pads, and also on the edges of the pads where it goes onto these bits of the caliper, the caliper bracket. I'll show you that in a minute. Right, so don't forget to tighten these up once you've put your new disc on. Put these relocation pins on. Now I've degreased this, but I did actually I just sort of scored it with this lightly, just to take, as you can see, that's taken a little bit of mil scale off there, and anything else will come off with just the first use really. But it's nice and clean, no grease or anything like that on there. let's get the caliper hanger back on. Right, just make sure that when you put this caliper hanging bracket back on, nip these 17s nice and tight, nip them up nice and tight with a breaker bar, that's all. I mean, you don't need to go too mad, but just make sure they're not coming undone. Right, so putting it all back together now, so don't forget to put some copper grease, copper ease on the back of the brake pad. That's how you want to be doing it. And the new one, there's one with the copper ease on it, and then we're just going to make sure that these bits in here are nice and clean. I've already wire brushed those, so they should be alright, and that's going to stop it squealing. Right, so there we go, that's the new pads fitted inside the holders. As you're putting them in, just make sure that you don't get any of this. Doesn't matter if you get it on your fingers, just don't get it on the disc. So next up is getting this back on. It's just gonna, I've already pushed this back with a pair of big pliers. Okay, that's your caliper. That's gonna, remember, that's gonna push up the level of brake fluid. It is worth taking the top off the brake fluid reservoir. So as you push that piston back, this is going to raise up. Okay, so you want to be keeping an eye on that. But once I pump the pedal, that's going to go down a little bit, and then when I do the other side, it'll probably come right up to the top. But just keep an eye on it. Maybe even if you're a bit worried about it, put a rag around there just to stop it spilling down. Right, so reassembly is pretty straightforward. Don't forget to put a bit of copper ease on this pin before you put it on, before you put it back through. It lines up nice and easy, and then you're going to have to just push that. I'm just going to have to push that bolt out of the way slightly before you can line it up and get it over there. I'm going to need two hands to do that. Back in a sec. Right, so it was a little bit fiddly getting this bolt back in, but I did it. And then just get your Allen key on your socket wrench, and pretty much away you go. Get that nice and tight, and that should be it. Right, a couple of things on reassembly. Don't forget to put this back and put that clip back over if you took that out in the first place, just to give you a bit of play on this pipe. And also don't forget to put that little metal clip back in that pin just there. Now, some of them come with wear sensor wires, some don't. I'm not fitting them, but whatever, I can't comment on it. I've not got it on here, so that's fine. Hopefully this has been of some use to you. I'm going to show you the side. Right, so finish that side. I'm just going to get stuck in at the other side now, but I thought I'd just run you through the tools that you'll definitely need. Okay, so you're going to need a breaker bar of some description, which is something like that, maybe a longer one, to undo those wheel nuts. You need a 17mm socket for that, or of course if you've got a wheel brace or something like that that's got a 17, the correct size on it, then just use that. That's fine. I would recommend something like this. These are kind of like water pump pliers, and that's to push the piston back in the caliper once you take the caliper off. Okay, as you'll need that, you'll have, the pads will be thicker going on, so you'll need that to get the pads in there. You'll need to squeeze that piston and the caliper back. I think I showed you that in the video. Some sort of screwdriver, a couple of pairs of pliers, a 12mm spanner, and probably an adjustable spanner. That's to get those wheel locating bolts off that hold the disc in place, so you'll need one of those. I would personally have a ratchet as well
for when those 17s are holding the caliper bracket on. Once you've loosened them with breaker bar on a 17, use a ratchet on, okay? And then you're also going to need an 8mm Allen key. You can of course just use a normal Allen key, right? I've chosen to use one on an actual ratchet. That's a 3/8 drive, that one. Maybe a hammer. So I would get, if you haven't got the spray, copper ease, either the spray or the actual solid stuff. That's always good. I would have a tub of brake cleaner and, to be honest, some sort of wire brush. That's really going to come in handy for cleaning off the caliper bracket, so that especially where it holds the actual pads, you want to get as much of the rust off of that as you possibly can. Now, I think that's it. It's pretty much all the tools I used actually. So stay safe, like I've mentioned before. Make sure you use an axle stand, or at least a safe prop. Don't just jack the car up and then put a wheel under it or something. That's not a good way of doing it. And I think I covered everything else in the video, to be honest with you. I'm going to crack on, get the other side done. Don't forget to put the lid back on your brake fluid once you've done, or soak up any that's spilt, whatever. And if you've got any questions, anything you need to know, drop me a comment and I'll answer you. If I can help you, I will. That's fine. Okay, so catch you on another video. Take care, have fun, and I hope this has helped. If it has, please subscribe and support the channel. Great. Catch you on the next one.